This is the Rita Cosby Show.
Let's go to Joe on line 4. I think it's Joe Pinion, who is running against Senator Schumer, right?
Rita, good to be with you on a Friday. I figured it's my first Friday night I've spent in New York City in close to 2 months, so I figured what better to do than give Rita a call. So how you doing this evening?
I'm glad you are. I saw your name and I was like, wait a minute, I know Joe there. I'm so glad that you're calling in on this on one of your first few nights here in the city. That's great. Well, I got to get your take, Joe. What did you make of the hearing?
I mean, look, we need to have investigations in search of truth, not an agenda in search of an audience. And what we saw, realistically, was the Democrats trying to do what they always do, confuse the American people, use fear as a cudgel to beat people into submission to hopefully distract from the fact that your average American family cannot put food on the table. The toddlers don't have any actual formula to feed themselves. They're now in the Hunger Games, as I've called it, toddler edition. So this is just an extension of what we saw with the first and second impeachment of President Trump. They canceled live with Jerry Nadler to try to make sure that we could actually distract from the fact that they don't have an agenda. So we're at hard work here. So I'm excited about the opportunity to let people know Chuck Schumer can be beaten, and these Democrats, they don't have any solutions.
You know, you brought up Chuck Schumer because I know you're running against him, and we're talking to Republican candidate for Senate against Chuck Schumer in New York, Joe Pinion. I'm so glad you're calling into the show, Joe. I'm wondering what your thoughts are in terms of vis-a-vis, because the first thing I thought of when they played, President Trump's comments yesterday, and we've heard them obviously before, that it was so much more restrained and docile compared to what Chuck Schumer has said. When Chuck Schumer was on the steps of the Supreme Court, I'm sure you've heard it many times, Joe, and as I have, where he said, you know what, we're going after you, Gorsuch. We're going after you, Kavanaugh. You will pay a price. You won't know what hit you. I mean, what he was saying there and his language was so much more intense than anything we heard from Trump that they're saying led up to the riot at the Capitol.
Look, let's be clear. You can have whatever opinions you want in life, but my grandfather told me that whatever your views, you have to be consistent. You can't tell me that the words of Rudy Giuliani and the President Donald Trump led to an insurrection and somehow don't actually want to hold Chuck Schumer accountable when he says that they will pay the price on the Supreme Court for passing laws or actually ruling on laws. And at the end of the day, we had a madman show up outside of Kavanaugh's house with a 9mm to kill him. So these are the stakes in this election. When you have the rules for thee and not for me, it used to just be about the elections. It used to just be about ethics. But now it's come down to the actual rhetoric. And the rhetoric of Chuck Schumer almost got a Supreme Court justice killed. That must be the conclusion you arrive at if you also arrive at the conclusion that the words that came out of President Trump's mouth somehow led to people who are unarmed trying to overthrow the most powerful government in the history of the world.
Yeah, and Joe, you could make the case based on that there should be a January 6th commission on what Chuck Schumer said, because my goodness, the guy shows up this week to Kavanaugh's home and said he was upset at the leaked opinion. He didn't say, obviously, Chuck Schumer, but you could make a case that maybe his words were insightful to somebody like this or to other people. I mean, I'm being facetious because I just think it is outrageous. The minute you start saying, well, that directly led to this. And if you look at the words that Schumer said and Maxine Waters said, get in their face. I mean, my God, their vitriol has just been over the top. More than anything I heard on January 6th at those different, from what I've seen on all the videos and everything else.
You think about the job of the United States Senate, formerly referred to as the most deliberative body on the planet. It is supposed to quite literally cool the passions of society and provide a level-headed examination of what is required to have an America that works for every single one of us. And so what you see in the presence of Democrats having complete control of our government, you see them increasingly relying on division, increasingly encouraging people to take aggressive aggressive stance against people who they disagree with, parents who simply want to make sure their children are getting a just education, being put on terrorist watch lists. This is not America. This is the beginning of the American fabric completely unraveling because these people are effectively trying to keep power and leverage power by any means necessary, even if that means that they're going to turn a blind eye to the fact that with their own tongue, they have encouraged people to break the law, set up camp outside the homes of Supreme Court justices, and at this rate, somebody is going to get hurt. Right. And as I remind people, in the modern history of our politics right now, certainly in my adult life, the only people who've ever gotten hit by bullets in our politics in many ways end up becoming the people on our side of the aisle, the right side of the aisle. Right. We know that there are mad people on both sides. We saw earlier when I was younger what happened with obviously Congressman Kathy Giffords. But at the end of the day, we just have to make sure we have leadership that recognizes that with great power comes great responsibility. And the only responsibility they seem to believe they have is to do everything humanly possible to hold on to that power at our expense.
Well, I say bravo for you for running, Joe Pinion. I know you're giving Chuck Schumer a big race, and I can't wait to see what happens in the coming months. You got to come back on again soon. Call in anytime, Joe. Always love hearing from you, my friend.
Great to talk to you. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. Good to see everyone.
Thank you very much. The great Joe Pinion, who is running against Chuck Schumer, happens to be calling in and listening here on the show, and great to get his take on all of this. He is again running against Schumer in New York. Awesome, awesome, awesome.